a lot of my clients, they say I discounted the price, or when I raised my prices, I got clients that I really like working with. They were just better clients, right? I have many theories as to why that happens. That could be because you're making what you're worth and, what you're putting out and what the market demands, and you're happier doing it. You do a better quality product, and then there's you value the customer, or the customer can afford your services. They're not as stressed. They're not trying to, pinch pennies at every moment. They're not delaying their payments. There's no anxiety and fear there. So sometimes raising your prices, it may not necessarily make you more profitable, but they may attract a certain type of client that has a lot of ease around money, and they may be able to afford your services.
As long as you have the marketing to go after that market. Mm-hmm. And that's what Robert was talking about earlier in terms of what the market will bear and then matching the market. Because if people stay stuck with their existing market and just raise prices, okay, so let's say they're marketing to the same people. Mm-hmm. Well, then it just occurs as more expensive to the same people. So if you want the easier to work with clients or the better quality clients, that's a different market. So then the marketing has to be adjusted to attract those people.
The way you could adjust it is you can make it yourself more niche. So that's another misconception so when people want a lot of work, they don't have targets. They go, I'll accept anything. And then their marketing ends up being diluted, and no one can resonate with them. They don't feel like they know their problem, and they don't feel like you can solve their problem. And so I had this woman that I was speaking to, and she was like, yeah, I just didn't want to walk. This was a dog walker. Okay. So she's like, oh yeah, I didn't want to walk big dogs anymore. I was getting older. And, I just said I was going to walk King Spaniels, right? Or it's just small breeds. And I thought I would have less business, she said. I thought as soon as I went to the little dogs, I would cut myself off from the entire market and I would have less business. And she goes, I have more business than I ever did walking all of the dogs. Right? So the more that you get tailored and the more that you are specific to what your market and your niche needs, often enough, I say you could possibly justify a higher price, and you may still retain the volumes of business because you really know your market.
Right. So it's really about knowing your market. So she might have lived in a market where there are a lot more little Cocker Spaniels and large dogs. Mm-hmm. But to do that, you have to look. So key to business is not raising or lowering prices, but seeing what is true. Mm-hmm. And what the market will bear and matching it. So really the key is to match the demand of the market.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
If you match the demand of the market, you live inside of that pricing point and you match exactly and your cost is perfect, then your life is a breeze. Mm-hmm. There's no work. Mm-hmm. If you don't match the market, then there's a lot of pain. Because what dictates the sale is the matching of the market, sorting of the market, sorting of the customer and client base, sorting of the market itself. That's why it's so hard for most people, because most people do not want to sort. They just want to have it now.
You can watch more video clips on YouTube or listen to the whole episode on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube.